to the chair. You're live on HCAM.
Thank you. All right, I see. Hi, Heather. So it's 7 o'clock, but it looks like it's just me and Heather at the moment. Am I missing anybody else?
Just letting Ed in now,
Good, okay.
but I haven't heard from Jim yet.
Okay. Give him a couple more minutes.
Over here.
We need at least one more member to make a quorum. So that's why I'm gonna wait a little bit longer here.
I believe that Jim is on his way to join.
Okay.
The word I got was he was napping when Kate came home and she wasn't sure whether to wake him up.
Okay, so I can't hear anybody. Can anybody hear me? Wave if you can hear me. Oh, great. No, I can't hear any of you. All right, I'll be back.
Okay, I gotta ask, that sounds my dog when he's panting. What am I hearing?
You're hearing me pant.
Okay,
Sorry about that. I have Parkinson, so hopefully it won't interfere with anything.
So, Ed, I saw when I was talking with Judy about it, we saw the trees were planted over off of Blueberry in the easement, in the drainage easement. Did you see that? Or know that?
I've seen the picture. I haven't seen them.
Okay.
Yeah, I did go out and count. So they have the correct number plus the 8 they had to put in for the open space trees. They had just put one in the easement. So requested they move that one, which they did. So should be all set there. They put in a New England Conservation seed mix. So it should, I mean, hopefully it rains. Not the best time for planting. Should be coming in nice.
And what trees did they plant?
It's 5 different ones. I know tulip poplar was in there. I'm not 100% on the others.
don't know, with this hot weather, we
right.
have been getting some nice rain
Yeah.
frequently, so it might be
Am I
okay.
in the right place? I want to verify.
This is the Conservation Commission hearing.
Yes, regarding 12 North Mill Street.
Yes,
Yeah, that's on there.
Okay, I did it.
Good evening, everybody.
Hey, Jim.
Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I'm Melissa.
It's okay. We're glad you joined us. All right, so we have 4 members quorum, so we can go ahead and get our meeting started. Judy, would you mind reading the preamble for us?
Of course. This is the July 22nd, 2025 open meeting of the Hopkinton Conservation Commission being conducted remotely consistent with an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. The new law authorizes all members of a public body to continue participating in meetings remotely. The open meeting law's requirement that a quorum of the body and the chair be physically present at the meeting location remains suspended. For this meeting, the Hopkinton Conservation Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom app, as posted on the town's web meeting calendar and the Conservation Commission agenda identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting may also be broadcast by HCAM through one or many of its channels or platforms. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Supporting materials that have been provided to members of the commission for this meeting are available on the town's website. This meeting will feature public comment. After commission members and staff have discussed each project application on the agenda, the chair will open the discussion to public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak are asked to identify their name and address. 3 minutes will be afforded for each public comment. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted via roll call of the members. And I will pass it back to Melissa to confirm which commission members are present.
Thanks, Judy. All right. Ed, are you present?
I am present.
Jim?
Here.
Jim Cirillo. Heather Burton?
Present.
Great. And now confirming staff that are present, Judy Day,
Present.
Anna Rogers,
Present.
and Joe Warzel.
Present.
Thank you. All right, before we get started, I just want to point out on the agenda that we had a couple items that were continued, so that means they will not be discussed tonight. That's number 7, 27 Jamie Lane. It's continued to August 5th. 38 Downey Street is continued to August 5th. And Pulte Homes Legacy Farm North certificate of compliance is also continued to August 5th. With that being said, I'm gonna skip over the draft minutes since we're down a few commission members. If you don't mind pushing that to the next meeting as well, Judy.
Yep, will do.
And we'll go ahead with 126 Fruit Street exemption request, fencing, and tree removal. Do you want to give a little overview on this, Judy? And I don't know if we have anyone, a homeowner on the line as well.
Sure, through the chair. I believe the homeowner was planning to join, not sure if he's in yet, but I'm happy to give an overview. So the homeowner at 126 Fruit Street recently bought the property and is looking to install fencing around the property as indicated on the plan here, as well as remove a row of evergreen trees that are behind the house. And as they were on the as-built plan for an RCOC back in 2012, we do believe that these trees may have been intended to serve as the PIB. So the current state of them is they're a little overgrown. Some of them are overgrowing the garage, and at least 2 of the trees' trunks have been compromised by another falling tree. So happy to pass to the homeowner if he is here. I believe he was considering a replanting plan and open to the commission's feedback on what they would like to see if they allow him to remove the trees and install the fencing.
Do we have a homeowner on the line for this? Anybody? I don't see anybody yet.
Or if folks have thoughts on if they'd like to see an application for this, or if a minor project request is the appropriate pathway for this.
So do you have the other plan handy from the COC?
Yes, let me pull it up. Yeah, so I don't know when the delineation was done. The original filing was from 1986 and the request for a certificate of compliance was 2012. So I believe they might have used the original delineation, but since it's such an old filing, we don't have a complete set of documents. Yep, so this was the original as-built for the 2012 request for certificate of compliance.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so it looks like those were definitely proposed plantings at that time.
Yeah, looks like.
All right. And can you just throw up the picture of the trees so we have an idea? Current condition?
Yes. So these are some pictures the homeowner put together. This is the type of fencing he wants to install, not this one. So black chain link. And this is the garage on the right, house on the left, and the trees kind of run the length of this walkway here. It's from the other direction. Here's the plan again.
Through the chair, the homeowner.
Did you say the homeowner's on the line, Anna?
Correct.
Okay. Who is our homeowner? You want to introduce yourself?
Hi there. Yes, my name is Charles Bogini of 126 Fruit Street.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Jazz, I just gave an overview of your request to the commission, the removal of the trees behind the house and installation of fencing. So if you have any details you'd like to add, or any thoughts on receptiveness to replanting, or if you'd like to reiterate your plan for the property, please feel free.
Yeah, sure. That would be great. I will be able to share my screen momentarily. So I'm very thankful that Judy was able to meet me on the property last week. I'm very appreciative of her giving me some of her insights as to what was part of the half the property, if not more than half the property, is in the wetlands. So I'm being very cautious as to how to approach this project that I have in mind, which really revolves around the safety of my children and the idea would be to install a fence, and part of the installation process is butting up against the 22, I believe they're hemlocks, please correct me if I'm wrong there, that are at the rear of the property. They are available on the drawings that I submitted there to Judy, overlaid over the as-built that she had sent over to me. Those were circled in green. And the idea is to remove those. There were a few of which Judy and I took a look at that had a dead trunk that had fallen into, I believe, 2 of them, as well as 2 or 3 of which were leaning up against and encroaching on the garage structure. So room to this part of it is that it approaches on the make it a
We're
little
losing
bit
you.
difficult to fit a fence in there.
Sorry, go ahead. We
Okay,
lost
maybe
you
that's a little
for-
bit better. Do you have me now?
Yeah, we do. Yep.
Okay, I apologize. So what I was saying was that when I was walking through the property, you have the 22 hemlocks on the back that are really encroaching on the walkway as well as encroaching on the garage structure that would make it more difficult to install a fence. As that the real issue that I'm trying to solve here is my wife and I purchased the property. We are waiting to move in until we have the property secure. Part of buying a new house is not necessarily familiar with the area, with the beauty of buying a house, if you will. So Fruit Street has been drawn to my attention that it is a racetrack. So this led me to believe that we need a fence as much as it's the
Charles, we're losing you again.
I think he just dropped off the call.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Melissa, I'll have to recuse myself. I'm just listening in, but I'm a neighbor, so I think that's
You
probably
are.
the best choice. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yep.
don't know if that makes any difference, particularly with tonight not having all of the members present, but I thought I would let you know.
Thanks, Heather.
Yep.
I think at this point we're decide. So this is an exemption request. So we can at least give a little feedback if. Oh yeah, you're back. Hi, Chess.
Yeah. So sorry about that. Hopefully that works now. So yeah, I'm open to any and all feedback. You know, I'm so grateful to be working with the Conservation Commission here in Hopkinton. We're excited to be in town, and this is one of the first things we have to do. So any feedback, any direction will be greatly appreciated.
Okay. I think my 2 cents or my initial thought is I don't have a problem with the fence. I think that's, makes sense. It's along the edge of the existing grassed area anyway, so I don't think it's gonna cause any problems for wildlife. But the question I would have is, do we really need to take out all those trees, or is there more of a like pruning, cut them back situation to get the fence in? It seems some of them are, well, at least where the fence is drawn in this situation, some of those trees look like they're pretty far away from the fence. But maybe that's how it's drawn. I think Chess is frozen again.
I can put some more pictures up. Let's see.
Yeah, we might have to come back to this one if.
Yeah, so there is existing fencing along the walkway. And when I was out there, the trunks were pretty far back, but the branches were coming up towards the fence.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else have any thoughts?
Yeah. This is
Go
Ed,
ahead.
and I would, as the resident extreme tree hugger, I would concur with your thoughts. I can see where the apex of the fence seems to get into the trees, and that might be an issue. And the tree onto the garage is certainly an issue. But many of the trees seem pretty far away from the fence, so I don't quite understand the concern there.
So Chaz, I don't know if you can hear us or
Yeah.
area where you can speak. Okay.
I've heard all the feedback over the past couple of minutes, and like I said, I'm really happy to work with the commission. I think there is a path forward. I would agree, frankly, not only for the budget as well as the appearance, to prune them. One of my worries was once we get into it, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, there is a dead tree trunk that maybe Judy can speak to if she hasn't already, that is leaning up against two of them. And then the 3 to 4 that are leaning up against the garage there. So if we remove those, will it just look a little funky? There is
some sort of white growth growing on a lot of them. And I'm by no means a professional. I'm just trying to figure out if this process, why not ask for the ability to remove all of the trees versus start to pick through them and find out that the disease is further on than I thought, or it's just going to look a little poor if are two missing. So that was the main reason for trying to move forward with removing all the hemlocks and replacing them with a much shorter species off of the list that Judy had provided to me a couple days ago.
Yeah, I think what the commission usually does in the case of if it's a dead or deceased or dying tree, Judy, she kind of acts on our behalf to allow those trees to be removed. If it's a healthy tree, then it's a different discussion, and the commission has to weigh in on those. So, if there's a couple trees that are dead, like these ones, are dead, dying, deceased, then those could be removed. The commission also, in order to remove a tree that's in question, if you think they're diseased, if you think they're in jeopardy, then we look to have an arborist opinion on that. So if you have a company that you plan to work with, tree company, sometimes they have an arborist on staff, and can write a letter for you and speak to which trees might be compromised. So I think that would probably be a next step if you think that there's some disease situation going on there.
Understood. Yeah, I think that's a good path forward. So I see that Judy has up on the screen right now the one tree that had been deceased and leaning up against the hemlocks there. Do you think it makes sense to just have a discussion here as to what trees out of the 22 that I've circled can be removed? Because I think that this is where we would end up at this point in the meeting. And one of my thoughts was to say, all right, we prune back the majority of the trees and just remove the trees that's pictured on the shared screen right now, as well as the other concerns, the 3 or 4 that are encroaching onto the structure, and then leaving the remaining 18 or so hemlocks, but just pruning them, bringing them back to make way for the fence.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, Judy, if you consider these trees compromised enough that, you would evaluate them in that regard for these two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
And then against the shed, I mean, yeah, that's obviously encroaching on the shed. So in my opinion, and if Ed and Jim, you agree to take the 1 or 2 trees closest to the shed, I'd be okay with that.
So if I can be shocking,
Yeah.
as hemlocks, and there's mention of disease and white stuff on them,
Yeah.
could they have woolly algillid, which is a pretty devastating critter to hemlocks? Judy, do you know what that looks like?
I do. I didn't get close enough to check for them though.
So I mean, if a large number of them have that, then their days are numbered.
Yeah, through the chair. If they are infested with the woolly algillid and left untreated, it can kill the trees within generally 4 to 10 years.
Okay. So, Chaz, I think I leave that to you if you want to get that decision made on all the trees, or if you just want to take the 2 that are obviously injured here, plus 1 or 2 by the shed.
Yeah, why don't I move forward with the latter? And then while I'm in there, I had made an appointment with a local contractor in town, and they may or may not have a certified arborist on staff. I'll have to double check. And once we get back in there, if it is brought to my attention while we're looking around that it is pretty rampant through the majority of the trees, if okay, I can reach back out to Judy and get back onto the schedule here, and we can discuss that in the future.
Okay. Yeah, I think that sounds like a good plan.
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
Did you also want to wait for a quorum to vote on the fencing, or would you prefer me to approve that administratively?
I think
Melissa, I'm okay with, approving it administratively.
yeah, for the fence. So you would be approving the exemption
Yeah.
request, or you'd just be approving the fence administratively, right?
Yep, the fence and then
Yeah.
the 3 to 4 trees that were mentioned.
Okay. Yeah, let's go with that. You can approve it administratively.
Okay.
And Charles, before you go, I want you to know that I really, really, really like that house.
Well, I really appreciate that, and we have my wife Kim, our daughter and son, and a little dog. We went to one open house, and I concur with you, not knowing the area too well, that it just spoke to us. We fell in love with it, and as luck would have it, the gentleman who helped us purchase the home as the seller's agent is a neighbor. So all the stars aligned. I grew up on wetlands. I can't wait for my kids to enjoy it as well as quite a unique house. So I appreciate the words, Ed, and we're excited to be in town here.
Awesome. Welcome to town. Good luck.
Thank you very much for your time, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night. All right, being that it's almost 7:30, we'll move up to the continued hearings. So we have 12 North Mill Street. Notice of intent for a single family house, and also next to that, notice of intent for access for soil testing. And I see Mr. Petrosi's on the call here, so do you want to let us know what you're looking at? What we're looking
Okay, sure. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, since I was last here with the commission, as I mentioned previously, we had filed a request for a variance from the front setback line of North Mill Street. And we were fortunate enough that the zoning board did grant us a variance to place a house or structure within 30 feet of the street line instead of the required 60 feet. So what that does is that opens up an alternative for the commission to consider. What's on the screen right now is the variance plan that was granted, showing a house in the front portion of the upland closest to North Mill Street, and then towards the rear of the lot would be accessed by a gravel drive is the proposed septic system that would be outside of your buffer zone areas that's shown on the plan. The second, the bylaw plan that is, and by the way, on this.
Oh, you just went on mute. Mr. Petrosi, you just went on to mute.
How's that? Am I back?
Now you're back.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm a little bouncy with my fingers tonight. So in any case, with the variance plan, the gravel road requires approximately 2,500 square feet of wetland filling. crosses the intermittent stream with two proposed 24-inch culvert pipes, and basically it just allows for access in the future to maintain the septic system. It will be a force main pump up to the septic system to the rear of the lot. So that's an option that we're perfectly willing to pursue at the commission's request or preference. The bylaw proposal that was originally submitted, the second plan, Judy, if you can show that, is essentially puts the house and the septic system both in the rear portion of the lot, connected with a long, lengthy driveway and box culvert crossing the intermittent stream, with a much larger impact to wetlands of approximately 5,500 square feet and replication of, I don't know, probably like 8,000 something square feet of replication in the front of the lot. So I know this is going to be a difficult lot to permit, but I throw those options, alternatives out for the commission to discuss and lead me to the path that we are to pursue, you know, the least amount of impacts and mitigation as possible. So I'm perfectly happy to pursue either one, depending on how you folks want to handle this.
Okay, so so for this meeting, you are just looking for our thoughts on the two options, because I believe we don't have a review yet because we're waiting on some consultant fees.
Well, yeah, well, I guess the question would be, what plan are we going to review? And as I mentioned to Judy earlier today by email, is that what is the peer review reviewing? I mean, we spent quite a bit of expense and time during the NRAD process. All the resource areas have been identified, and I'm not quite sure what would be peer reviewed other than the replication protocol for whichever plan is being proposed. So as far as I know, is that Lucas Engineering submitted a proposal that was in excess of $2,000, which in my opinion was excessive for what needs to be done in terms of reviewing this application, in addition to the filing fees that we've already paid. So you tell me, is that a reasonable amount of money to pay someone to review the placement of the house and the replication area proposal, or what is it that they want to do?
Through the chair.
Well, I think it's, go ahead, Judy.
I just put the scope on the screen that includes the items anticipated to be completed during the review. So conduct a site visit, review the application and plans, prepare a comment review memorandum. Supplemental information review is not included, so this is just the first round of review, and attending one meeting. So it's kind of the bare bones of an initial review included in the estimate.
Well, let me ask you this, Judy, not to interrupt, but I mean, you've been on the site 3-4 different times during the interim process. What purpose is it to review to be on the site? I mean, what does he have to review? He's been there. They've modified the wetland line half a dozen times, and the stream and the intermittent stream is, as far as I can tell, this is a paper review, and not necessarily require any on-site peer review from my perspective.
Yeah, Joe can confirm, but I do believe he likes to review in the site where the proposed structures are going to be, with the soil testing case. The issue is that the path wasn't marked, so it's seeing where the proposed plan is in the field in relation to the delineation. But if Joe has any additional comments on what the site visit would entail, feel free.
Yeah, through the chair, typically we would look at, the proposed stream crossing location, the house location with respect to buffer zone impacts, and any other buffer zone impacts. And then also the proposed replication area to see if it appears suitable, if there's an issue with invasive species. So that's generally we would do a site inspection for a notice of intent, even if we've been out there in the past to look at the delineation, just regarding the siting of the proposed construction.
So how many hours would that entail, Joe? Are you gonna go out there in the 20-minute inspection? How much time?
Usually on a site like this, it's about an hour inspection.
Okay. That seems reasonable.
Yep.
So what do we do with the other, let's say $2,000 worth of fees?
I think that's right there in 2 through 5, reviewing the notice of intent application and the documents and the plans, and then preparing the comment letter and attending, the meeting to talk about it. So I then, if that all doesn't get spent, then it gets returned.
We had this process before during the ANRAD. If it doesn't get spent, and we had Joe going out there 2 and 3 times, different times to assess the resource areas that had already been assessed and reassessed, intermittent stream that was in the wetlands that really didn't matter much. No offense to Joe or anything, because this is in every community. The abuses that are going on with the peer review process and the amount of money that is being spent is getting outrageous. And quite frankly, when you're dealing with 4 or 5 different towns and they're all doing the same thing to you, you get kind of angry at the process. And so I don't care if it's $100 or $1,000 or $1. This is my money that I'm spending, and I want it spent appropriately, not on looking over an application to see whether or not you filed a waiver or some other thing that is inconsequential to the whole project. So which plan would the commission prefer to review?
Can you put them back up on the screen, Judy? Yeah, thanks. I have a question on the first plan. Oh, they're both on the same sheet. Did you say that the zoning board granted you a 30-foot setback?
Yeah, they reduced it from 60 feet to 30.
So this is showing a 40 right now on the plan, or is that a typo?
It's got to be the wrong plan. I must have sent you the wrong plan, but it is 30 feet setback, which I apologize if that's the one that I sent out.
Okay.
So essentially, the rest of the plan would be the same. The house would be 10 feet closer to the street.
My thought would be that the house in the front of the lot would be the preferred alternative between the two. But I still wouldn't say that we would find that permittable.
Well,
I think that Hannah did a little digging. No, it wasn't for this one. I mean, it's right up against the wetlands there. It's within the 50-foot no build, so.
No, I understand the regulations and your rules, and I think that in my experience in Hopkinton, which dates back to almost 35 years, I would say this is permittable. And I would say that the lot being created in the 1980s is exempt from whatever regulations you're referring to. And so I would prefer for the commission to look at this objectively and not have a preconceived notion that this is not permittable, because that's not what your regulations call for. We're allowed to overcome any presumptions that are in your regulations, and for you to already determine that this is not permittable is not fair to me as the applicant.
Okay. Well, you asked for an opinion on which alternative at this point in time, but without a peer review, that's also a little difficult to give any opinion. So it's an unofficial
Hey,
thoughts. If
understood.
anyone on the board wants to share, otherwise I'll go to public comment.
Jim, I absolutely think that there needs to be peer review. And I'm not sure what's being referred to as it was a buildable lot or whatever back in 1980 or whatever. I'm not really sure what the applicant's referring to as it being something that is not subject to review. Even if it predates our bylaw, the Wetlands Protection Act is still in play. And this is, clearly within jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act.
Well, just so you know, we did have a superseding order of conditions from DEP back 1998 or something like that, or 2000. So we know that it's permittable as a limited project under the wetland regulations. The only real issue here is whether or not the application of your local bylaw regulations are applicable.
So I think, for you, Mr. Petrosi, you obviously have a strong opinion on that. So if I were you, I think the path forward is just to present the alternative that you think has the best chance of, meeting our bylaw, and present that case in your notice of intent. And we go from there.
Okay. Does any of our commissioners have any opinion?
Through the chair, not a commission member, but just want to point out that the plans provided today by Mr. Petrosi don't include the delineation approved by the ORAD issued in 2024. So.
And that's my mistake. I'm sorry. I think I sent Judy the wrong plan that had been previously submitted and corrected by Anna during the initial filing. So I'll have to send the plan that was approved by the ANRAD and also reflected by the variance. So that's my fault, and I apologize.
Great, thank you.
I'll just note to the commission members, Judy did add a link to the ZBA file to this filing, so we have it in our records to show the setback. And it also includes a number of letters of opposition that were presented at that hearing, which are also applicable here to our Wetland Protection Act interests. So with that, I know we have someone, at least one member of the public on the line. If you or anyone else, yep, I see a hand, Archie. If you can state your name and address for the record and then provide whatever information you'd like.
To the chairman, this is Bruce Holmgren. I live at 9 North Mill Street. As a taxpayer and an abutter, I'm very pleased with the work that the Conservation Commission has done so far. In general, and on this property, it has been under review by the Conservation Commission at least 3 times over the last 40 years. Looking at the ORAD and the attached site plan, the GLM site plan, I've looked at the current percentage of wetlands on this site. It's in excess of 50%. I think my numbers are something closer to 60, but I wouldn't stand by them too well. But looking at the wetlands with a 50-foot buffer also applied, that at least 90% by my count of the site is either wetlands or within 50 feet of wetlands. And if you look at a 100-foot buffer, there is no part of this site that I can see, according to the petitioner's drawing, that is not within 100 feet of a wetland. The site is subject to intense periodic flooding. It's caused flooding problems for me, for my neighbor behind me, and for the property adjacent. This also was subject, the last Concom action on this property was in response to DEP number 188-1818. And that was issued of, excuse me, let me see here. Apologize, that's the ORAD. The last filing was in DEP file number 188-859. That was a denial order of conditions. And if you have a chance to take a look, which I would appreciate if you would, the reasons for denial on pages 3 and 4 are substantial. They remain appropriate, conditional today. And so I ask for your detailed review of that information. Others have submitted other documents in showing the amount of flooding, including the petitioner's scientist, that show substantial flooding at periods of time, especially in the front where this proposed dwelling is going to be placed. I don't see how anyone could actually provide a significant amount of replacement or replication of wetlands either, given the nature of the site to begin with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to correct the record for the homeowner at 9 North Mill Street, that order of conditions was overridden by DEP as and a superseding order was issued following that under appeal. So we did have a superseding order for this lot issued by DEP, which more than likely would be issued again.
To the chairman, if I might respond, that is true, that it was the state had a different viewpoint. They were looking at, and it's my understanding, they were looking at the flow of the temporary or the intermittent stream. However, they also stipulated in that document that they deferred final decision to the local conservation commissions. And I think your previous assessment of that site remained valid.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you. Can I take the comment from Audrey?
You
Oh, it's Arthur.
Arthur, okay, it's showing up as ARTRI. Can you
ARTHUR RISEMAN 16 North Mill Street.
Thank you.
I have a simple, stupid question, and I'm sorry for taking the commission's time. My understanding is that this has been looked at least twice and turned down twice or more. That's my only question.
I'm not sure how many times it's been looked at in the past. At least once. Can I get Dave's comment?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay? There, that's probably better. Can you
Yep,
hear me?
that's better.
Okay.
Yep.
Name's Dave Shea. I'm at 7 North Mill. I live across Pine Tree Lane from Bruce Holmgren. Been here since '92. I don't know. Am I able to share my screen? I have some pictures I want to show you. Talk about this intermittent stream. I can send a request.
If
You
that's
can.
all right with you, Madam
Yep,
Chair, I can give
that's
him
okay with
permission.
me.
Okay. Now, how do I do this? So, share. This one. I hope. Can you see that? My fancy PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. A lot of talk has gone on about this intermittent stream. And yes, it is intermittent. A lot of times there's nothing going on. But I want to give you an idea of what it looks like at times and why I'm so worried about whether the drainage downstream from me is going to get screwed up. This was probably 2023, maybe, I don't remember what year it was. I wish I'd written it down, but here's December 11th of a couple of years ago. This is upstream of my driveway. So I am upstream from the subject property. This gets pretty well, backed up here. Here's the stream where it goes through my property and heads down towards the corner of, this is Pine Tree Lane, and this is North Mill Street. So it's cruising along down here, pretty good. This is a pretty good storm. This is upstream of my driveway again. You can see that the water is contained, in between the grass, kind of gets carved out here. So this is where it's trying to flow. This is the pipe that's going under Pine Tree Lane, heading towards Bruce Holmgren's house. So the water's coming down here, and you can see the pipe is, 40% full. So, not bad. Whoops, wait a minute. This is the corner of Pine Tree Lane. I'm sorry, this is North Mill, and Pine Tree Lane's over here. 9 North Mill is here. 7 North Mill is back here. So you can see this little area, this corner is pretty full. There's another pipe that goes under now North Mill Street. And you can see the output. So this is flowing in towards the subject property. 10 North Mill is over here. 14 North Mill is over this way. So this is the property. So this is looking pretty soggy. And then, so here's a panorama. These get a little distorted, but there's 10 North Mill, and you can see the water all over the place. So this is one storm on December 11th. Then, wait a minute. Here's one a little closer to 12 North Mill. So this is I think in the middle of the subject property, but you can see all this water all over the place. A week later, I had another opportunity because the storm was even worse. So you can see where this used to be grass and the water was most largely channeled down here between the arrows. Now it's all over the place. This is what it was before. This is what it was in the bigger storm. You can see the earlier storm, the flow going down the stream. The flow is a lot faster a week later. This was the first storm where it's about 40% full. This one, it's about 60 or 70% full. So this drain pipe is getting a little stressed out here with this storm. You can see how piled up the water is here on the 18th going into that pipe. This is coming out into the subject property. So here's the storm on the 11th, pretty significant. And you see a lot of water. Look at this. This is just gushing. Again, this is intermittent, but when it's bad, this is what it looks like. And so this is why I'm worried about if this drainage, such as it is now, I've been here 30 years, I haven't been flooded. But if this gets screwed up, I think 9 North Mill, Bruce Holmgren, and myself, we're in big trouble. So I wanted to point this out because, yes, it's intermittent, but man, it can get angry. So that's all I wanted to say on that. So any questions?
I have a question. So, Dave, from the photographs that you just showed, it seems like your house and your lawn area is like within 10 feet of the stream. Is that correct?
That stream goes through. Well, the house is what, 200 the lot is 250 feet. So here's North Mill.
Yeah, so on
The house
photograph
is
on, the
back
photograph
this
on the
way.
left, you have a lawn area that's almost up to the stream bank. Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's pretty much okay with you, right?
Well, this is kind of hilly. This isn't getting flooded, but
Okay.
I'd
But
be
it's a-
worried about here. Now, here's the driveway.
Right. So I just want to make a point here. You know, the commission's probably heard this a million times, but it's okay for your property to be inside the buffer zone, but not okay for me to build inside the buffer zone. Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
this house was built in 1975, so I don't know that all this kind of stuff. You know, to your point earlier about the 80s, I don't know that any of this kind of regulations were in place at the time. I
Well,
do know that, you know, if my deck falls down, I can never replace it. I have to replace it because I could never build it again, according to the rules.
yeah, just
So-
a point of, it's just a point of fairness, and I think the commission needs to take that into account. You know, it's okay for the people who are there to be there, but the people who want to be there are being precluded by regulations that may or may
Yep.
not be applicable.
Yep.
So
I
what's
get
fair
your
is fair.
point.
But
That's a good point.
you do raise a particular concern that we want to make sure that whatever we do on that property doesn't impede anybody upstream or cause any damage or flooding upstream.
Right.
And so I agree. I understand your concern, and we will be looking into that as well.
Okay. Yep, that's great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Okay. Mr. Petrozzi, is your limit of development on these two projects or disturbance, is it under an acre?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Does that include the replication area or what? Well, if you just heard from the calculations from my neighbor, one of my neighbors, that 70% of it is wet, as he would call it. So out of 1.83 acres, 70% would be under an acre. So I would say, yes, we're under an acre.
Okay.
Melissa?
Yes, Jim.
Mr. Jim, I have a question, Mr. Petrozzi, and anybody. I'm not able to get into the Google Docs that Judy posted, but Mr. Petrozzi, you refer to superseding order of conditions issued by DEP or Superior Court?
No, DEP. It's kind of a long story.
The DEP has no authority over our bylaw. We
Well,
have the
that's-
sole authority to enforce the bylaw.
You are correct. It's the
I know.
application, it's the application of your bylaw that will be up for discussion.
What was appealed? What's you referred to an appeal in the past? What was the appeal to?
The
the
appeal
commission's
was,
denial of.
yes, there's under the regulations today and even 30 years ago, the appeal process is to DEP for a superseding order and to Superior Court for a local bylaw appeal. So
Yeah, you got to be clear on what your regulation you're referring to. We have the State Wetlands Protection Act,
right,
which
it has-
DEP has jurisdiction over, and then we have the town bylaw, which DEP does not have jurisdiction over. Only Superior Court does.
yes,
Did
you're
you
right.
take this to Superior Court to issue to
Yes.
overturn the commission?
But
You
yes,
did.
we did. And
Is that true? Do we know that, Melissa?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. We did. And
Okay.
so
You-
just so you know, I don't mean to, belabor the point here, but you're 100%
I
right
do.
that the appeal under the bylaw is the Superior Court. But I'll just caution you to understand that there's a lot of new case law that's out since 1998 and beyond that calls into question how
Yeah.
local bylaws are applied. And so I would just say, keep an open mind, because it's only fair way to determine how this property is managed or handled in the past. And I will say that I
Yeah.
offer this, just so you know, I mean, I offered this to the town as under their, what do you have, the CPC funds, if they wanted to buy it. And I was told basically that you'll never
Right.
build on it.
Hold
So,
on. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mr. Petrosi.
yeah, it's okay. But I did offer it to the town first, and the town rejected it. So, you know, I'm going through the motions here in the right order, let's say.
Okay.
Okay.
Just want to say this. I'm also kind of familiar with court cases over quite a bit of period of time. So,
Okay.
yeah, you suggest that local commissions are loosening their standards, I'll say, being more lax,
No.
considering things, and
what I'm
I
saying-
don't agree with that at all. But
Okay.
there is no
Well,
precedent for that.
maybe you're reading the different cases than I am, but well, you know, we'll get into that dialogue as we get closer to having you know, I really don't like these Zoom meetings that much, but I told Judy that I would come and present. But you know, we can discuss the case law if you want later on. But right now we're looking to minimize and mitigate as best we can to meet the regulations of the local bylaw as closely as possible. And we're just hoping that the commission, you know, like I've done, you know, several projects in town that are, you know, I would say that the bylaw was in place on, and that we really were able to do what we proposed to do, and we did it in a reasonable way, and it came out fine. So I don't want, you know, people to think that just because I don't meet every item of your bylaw doesn't mean that it's not an approvable project.
Well,
I think
not meeting the element of 50 feet is kind of significant.
Well, again, I think I don't know how long you've been in town. I've
A long time.
I've been you know, dealing with the Conservation Commission and over many years, 30 something plus years. So I would hope that you would have an open mind when we get to the point where you need to make a decision.
Yeah, so I think
some
for
amendment to the bylaw.
I think for what we're doing tonight,
Well,
I think we've gone through it. I think, you know, you have alternatives here, and I think you just need to present the one that you think best meets our bylaw. And as you said, you've presented to the commission before, you've had projects in front of us, you kind of know what we look for. So I think the ball's in your court.
sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you prefer me to pay the peer review and just let him I mean, we'd have to figure out what he's going to do and when he's going to do it. So I'll talk to Judy tomorrow or the next day, and we'll figure it out. And if it's okay with the commission, maybe we should continue this for like 30 days or like don't you have an in-person meeting in September?
We haven't talked about that yet. We potentially could. I'd like to wait for more commission members to be here to talk about an in-person meeting.
Okay, fine. That's fair
But
enough.
our September meetings are the 9th and the 23rd.
So when is your next meeting in August? Like do you have a meeting at the end of August?
19th?
Okay, well, let's try August 19th, and then I'll try to make sure I get the right plan to Judy, and we'll talk about the peer review, providing some funds for the peer review.
Yeah, and I think the other thing was just making sure to flag out there, so before Joe goes out, we can make that efficient, and he only has to go out once. If your
Yeah.
proposed limit of work and can be flagged, that's helpful.
Okay, and
Melissa?
regarding, One other thing, just so I can say, regarding the other application, I'll send a notice in to withdraw the soil testing notice of intent that we had filed because the soils haven't changed, so we know what the soils are back there.
Okay. All right, so can I get a motion to continue the notice of intent for the single family house?
Melissa, I have a question first.
Oh, sure. Go, Jim.
So we've agreed to continue the hearing to August 19th. Between now and then, Mr. Petrosi, you will select the option that you're going with, and you will have our peer review before that meeting? Or you
Well,
just
I would
plan
hope
on
so.
picking one of the options?
Yeah, I would hope so. We'll have to talk to Joe and see what his schedule is and his availability.
Okay,
But
but you're prepared to engage our peer consultant?
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm
Okay.
looking to
All right,
cooperate.
now I'll
Just
make
trying
that
to-
motion.
Yeah.
I'll
just
make the
trying to save
motion
money.
to, Melissa, I make a motion that we continue the hearing to August 19th,
All right, can I get a second?
2025.
Second.
All right, all in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
All right,
Heather,
Aye.
and I think I saw Matt sneak in.
You did.
Okay.
Aye.
All right. And then, so for the soil testing, Judy, should we continue that until you get the withdrawal?
Yep, that's what I would recommend. Continue to the
Alright.
next meeting.
Yeah,
Can
that's
I
fine.
get,
too.
yeah, can I get a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
And can I get a second?
This is Ed, I'll second.
All right, all in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
All right,
Heather,
Aye.
and Matt,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. All right, thank
Okay,
you,
great.
Mr. Petrosi.
All right, thank you, Judy. I will be in contact tomorrow or the next day.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Right, next up we have Solon 1993 Trust, 8589 West Main Street. Notice of intent.
Hello, I'm here to present that application.
Hi.
Hi. May I share my screen? I have a colored site plan. It might make it a little bit easier to see things.
That's fine with me.
Great, you should be able to.
Great, thank you, Judy. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hello, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jessica Smith. I'm a wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting. I am here on behalf of the applicant, the Alicia Isla Solon and Samara Vern Solon 1993 Trust, regarding the notice of intent filed for the proposed work at 8589 West Main Street, DEP file number 1881850. I am joined tonight by the applicant and project engineer. On our screen here, I have our site. The site is currently comprised of an existing commercial property with an associated paved parking lot and stormwater system. Goddard has delineated a small portion of this bordering vegetated wetland along this side of the property line. And it casts a 50-foot no disturbance zone, 75-foot no build zone, and 100-foot buffer zone. The proposed project that we have here consists of adding an additional 3 parking spaces to the existing parking lot. Slivers of the landscape islands are proposed to be removed to accommodate the proposed spaces, as I have highlighted here. But no natural vegetation is proposed to be cleared. This is just, landscaping islands with shrubs. As part of the project, the applicant is additionally proposing several mitigation plantings, which are a mix of sweet pepper bush and witch hazel. The project represents a minor increase in impervious surface by around 0.65%, and has been designed as such that the existing stormwater system is able to handle this small increase in impervious surface. We are providing erosion control barriers around the inlets, as well as around the proposed mitigation plantings. Right here on our site exhibit, through the peer review process, the scope of the project has been minimized, including the removal of a proposed parking space here, as well as sidewalk connection. And that is all. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. My thought on this property though is that what I remember from when we were permitting it originally was that it was pretty maxed out. And that, you know, the parking configuration and the number of spaces that are there compared to the size of the building was determined at that time by the developer. So I don't see a reason to make a change here. Reduce impervious area and for a couple parking spaces.
The applicant has noticed throughout, you know, the use of the business that additional parking spaces are required at this time.
Yeah, I'm not able to speak. Just Andrew Steiner with Bowler. I'm the project engineer.
Yep, sure.
Yeah, just in terms of the additional spaces. So again, like this is a pretty congested site. Again, with the two buildings, and there's again several businesses that are housed throughout. So really, the additional stalls are to help provide some kind of needed flexibility. That's needed on the site because it does get congested at times, and this is really, again, providing some additional stalls while not really kind of changing the intent and kind of minimizing the amount of disturbance. We're achieving these stalls by, through the planning board, looking to install some compact spaces to really kind of further limit that on-site disturbance.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
There's an expression one could use, but not in this particular situation. This is incredibly, in my opinion, poorly planned, overly filled with buildings for the amount of land area that's there. And the idea of increasing the number of parking spaces turns us into an even more absurd. I mean, I've gone in there a few times and I avoid it like the plague because people don't pay attention when they're pulling out of these tight little parking spaces. Adding more parking spaces to me is going 180 degrees in the direction that's needed.
No, I agree, Ed. I mean, we put a lot of effort into the original permitting on this one. And going back and forth. Does anyone else on the commission have any thoughts, questions?
Yeah, it's just Melissa.
Yep.
I certainly recall all of the debate going back and forth, and somewhat to Ed's point, I don't think this should have ever, the construction of this plaza, well, Ed says it's compact and so forth. The property should never have been allowed by the planning board to be grandfathered in any way because of the former Golden Spoon restaurant, because none of the buildings are built on the original foundation. But in any event, notwithstanding any parking limitation, this was approved after a lot of discussion and debate on our part. And I'm pretty sure at the time we probably said something to the effect, this is it, don't come back, like we said to some other applicants. This is what you get, you planned it, you want to do this, but don't come back and ask for modifications later. That's it for me.
Anyone else have thoughts, feedback? Or anyone from the public?
Can I, I'm one of the owners of the property. Can I speak or?
Yep, you can, sure.
Okay. I just want to, first of all, thank you for taking the time to review this project. We really appreciate it. I think there are a couple of additional points I just would like to make. You know, when the parking was initially approved or configured, or the studies were done for parking, we do not believe that the numbers of staff in the retail, in the tenants' spaces were considered. So when you think about the staff on site, they could represent 10 parking spaces there at the very least. And the other issue is that the smaller tenants really, you know, they need additional, you know, Starbucks really runs that parking lot for the, you know, sort of controls the number of cars there, and the smaller tenants really could use the additional. I think there were some other maybe engineering issues related to impervious, but I don't want to misspeak.
Hi, I'm Victor Taglasi. I represent the owners of this property. I'm a licensed civil engineer in New York State. And as Samar pointed out, we're not the original owners of this property. And the calculations for parking spaces, we believe were erroneous, and did not account properly for employees. So we're trying to rectify something that occurred in the past. As Samar pointed out, a couple of our smaller tenants are really having a hard time, and we're looking to provide a couple of reserved spaces for those businesses, particularly the nail salon and also the Verizon store. They have complained to us that their customers are having trouble finding space. So there's a real problem here. We really try to minimize to the maximum extent possible the amount of additional impervious area. I believe it's roughly about 250 square feet. Andrew, do you have that exact number, or is it a little bit more than that?
It's a little bit more than that. It's about 266 square foot increase. When we initially submitted this, we were roughly at, it was just about 500, but with the, you know, removal of that additional parking stall, again, brings that number down significantly.
And then along North Main Street, West Main Street rather, we're reducing the spaces from 9 feet to 8.5 feet. And that really minimizes the amount that we need to take from the island there. And we've also, along where Unibank and Verizon is, we've also found ways to minimize the amount of the island we're taking. And it is something that is needed. I suspect, that we will lose tenants, and if we don't get these additional spaces that we want to use for reserve spaces. to protect the two smaller tenants that we have, and that's our main objective here. So you know, we hope that you can see the problem that we have, and we really try to make a maximum effort to reduce and minimize the impact. And I believe, Andrew, your calculations show no increase in stormwater runoff.
Sorry. Yeah, so again, with the reducing of the scope of the project to remove that additional stall, we initially had a small de minimis increase of 0.1 CFS in each one of the storm events. However, with removing that, this increase in impervious area is so small, it really doesn't change much from a peak runoff standpoint. So the peak runoff would be equal to currently what it is now on site. There's one other point I wanted to make, is I know there's some of the original permitting that was brought up. So this small increase, we're still ultimately less impervious area than when this was, you know, I think it was the Golden Spoon. So again, if these stalls were contemplated at that time, we wouldn't maybe be here as part of this conversation. But again, just wanted to point that out, and I can certainly provide some additional, you know, a graphic of that if that'd be helpful for the commission.
And I'd like to just add one other thing. The reduction in the landscaping, we still have the required percentage of landscaping. So we meet that standard as well. So we've tried to remain within that standard.
Thank you. I guess my response to that would be, I feel your frustrations not being the original builder or owner, but I think that your frustrations that you have now are our frustrations from the past, when we were sitting here saying, you know, this is too much square footage for this site. Back when we went back and forth with the original applicant on the design and really pushed to get it down as far as, you know, we could, as far as impervious area and impact on the property. You know, maybe the argument of reduced impervious space from the original, I don't know if that's helpful to any other members, but I feel your frustrations, because that is what the commission gets frustrated on a regular basis with developers, and these kind of self-imposed corners that they put themselves in, where we put too much development on a site, and then if we go back and allow more space to be taken later, then that kind of doesn't look good for the commission either, when we're trying to toe a line. So I don't know.
I do want to say that, you know, our emphasis is to protect the two smaller tenants, and that's our main goal here. And we're really concerned that we will lose these tenants if we don't provide them with reserved parking spaces. That will certainly may have an effect on the town's our revenues, and also the town's revenues as well.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
I wonder
I'm next.
if the petitioner has considered the possibility of renting parking spaces from the business and plaza, whatever you want to call it, that's across Lumber Street, which appears to have plenty of parking.
Yeah, we have considered it, and we in fact at one time we rented about a half a dozen parking spaces on not across the street, but the adjacent lot along Lumber, and that proved very unsatisfactory. no one used it, and we paid rent, for several months, and it just employees found didn't want to do that, and customers certainly didn't want to do that. And we feel that with the 3 spaces, we'll be in balance with what is required at this site. It'll make the site whole. We're just asking for a very small change, and I don't know what to tell you. I think losing tenants is very real for us.
Jim, did you have something?
Melissa,
Yep.
I have a couple of things. First of all, the surface condition of this site bears no resemblance whatsoever to what it was when it was the Golden Spoon. So we don't even need to talk about what it was then and what it is now. If the original developer had plans permitted that were defective or inefficient in traffic and parking, then that's on them. If you purchased the property and didn't know that, well, that's on you. I mean, I've purchased some commercial properties in my lifetime. I do due diligence, and I look back at the record for everything. So if you didn't do that, then that's another matter. And by the way, also, can you imagine Cumberland Farms coming in and asking us? I mean, they're trapped over there. Maybe they'll decide they want to do something and add some parking and so forth. That's it.
I mean, if this is a philosophical decision, I don't think we can argue it. If you're arguing that, too bad, you screwed up, and we're not going to help you out. That's what I'm hearing. Okay.
I don't want to not interrupt, but I don't make a decision on either of those. I don't make a decision philosophically, nor do I make one out of spite.
Again, we pay taxes to the town of Hopkinton, quite a bit of taxes. These businesses support your schools, your Department of Public Works supports your salaries. We're good neighbors, and we didn't do the calculations when this original development was approved, and we feel the town had a role in this, and so we're asking the town to help us correct this situation.
Okay, so just as a Conservation Commission, we don't look at costs. We've had discussions on this in projects in the past. Tenants, use of buildings, things like this, we're responsible for protecting the wetlands, the resource areas. That's our charge. So, and that's what drives our decisions. We're also all volunteers, so it's, that's that. So I think at this point, if you want us to go ahead, and I don't think there's anything else you can present to change the feelings or ask for anything in that regard.
To the chair, this is Mark Arn with Goddard Consulting, senior soil scientist. I've been listening to discussion as part of this application, and I was wondering if the commission could be a little more clear about what performance standards this project is not meeting that does not comply with your wetlands bylaw. The project's converting of landscaping to impervious surface of a very minor amount is a change in the buffer zone, but it's already disturbed unnatural buffer zone in your no disturb zone and your outer buffer zone. And some of this area is outside the buffer zone entirely. So I'm just curious, just as we as a team assess your comments from tonight, we'd like a little more clarity on where the performance standards that the commission is looking at in terms of where we don't comply, so we can move forward on this.
I guess just to that end too, again, we are providing some native shrub plantings, again, adjacent to the wetland area to help support that existing resource.
Yeah, the additional plantings, I don't know what that area looks like right now. If that's needed, vegetation or not. If that does, much in the way of mitigation, or if it's just, some nice plants to put over there.
Through the chair,
Yes, Judy?
did just want to point out that we are owed 2 replacement plantings for a tree removal exemption issued in June 2024. So I'm not sure if those 2 are included in what's being proposed or if they're going to be accounted for elsewhere.
The 2 plantings would be included in the ones that were there, but if it comes down to, additional plantings, we can certainly talk with the applicant about providing some additional ones.
And to the chair, the purpose of that conversation with the plantings is there may be opportunities to enhance the landscaping that's there to a situation where we have better evapotranspiration in those landscaped areas by more shrubs and trees that would help mitigate and provide more shading to the impervious surfaces in the area. That would also be a benefit to the resource area in terms of the way the property functions. And so if that's something that the commission would like to see, we could definitely look into that.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that. I just adding impervious area, and reducing pervious area on the site. I don't have enough of an argument there.
Through the chair.
Make me feel comfortable. Yes, Joe.
Yeah, just wanted to point out there's also potential opportunity for some additional mitigation with invasive species mitigation. There is Japanese knotweed and Phragmites growing in that wetland. And while they're not doing any work in that area, that is something that the commission may want to also consider.
Okay. And that's in the wetland itself?
Correct. The knotweed is adjacent to the wetland. The Phragmites is in the wetland.
Through the chair.
Yes, Matt.
Am I correct in understanding that the applicant is calling this a redevelopment project despite the fact that there's an increase in pervious cover?
No, I think that's not true. I think we've reclassified it as a development project. It's on the checklist.
The checklist I'm looking at says the project qualifies as redevelopment.
That's an old checklist. We resubmitted the checklist, I believe.
And we can
that's the
resubmit a new one if needed.
It was resubmitted just I think Friday. Maybe it hasn't gotten to you.
Yeah, if it was submitted Friday, there's no chance any of us would have had an opportunity to review that yet.
We had submitted it on Thursday.
Same
to both.
same thing. Less than a week prior to our meeting, we don't have an opportunity to review that.
So yeah, that was changed. I do know that I believe that Lucas did respond with their review of that, if I'm remembering correctly.
Through the chair, we typically don't review the stormwater report. So I'm not aware if that was changed in the stormwater report or not. I'm looking at the one right now that was submitted on Thursday, and it is checked as new development.
Yeah, so I mean, Melissa, I think we've got some information we need clarified from the applicant here, because my understanding of our stormwater standards in the state of Massachusetts are that any increase in impervious cover would constitute new development. And we are not reviewing this project against the Golden Spoon project that existed prior to. We are now reviewing this request against the conditions that exist out on site today. So I think it would be helpful for me, at least, to get a little clarity from the applicant on what exactly they're proposing, or what they believe they're proposing, redevelopment versus new development, how they comply with those stormwater standards, as well as how they comply with the requirements of our wetland regulations for work within the 50-foot no disturbance and the 75-foot no build zone for a commercial project.
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
We can reach out to a third party for a stormwater review, as that was outside of Lucas's scope of the notice of intent evaluation and the wetlands delineation evaluation. So if that is desired by the commission, we can request a third party prepare a scope, as I don't believe planning board is pursuing that right now.
Okay.
As far as I was aware, planning board was pursuing that. Andrew, am I wrong?
So it'll be part of our conversation when we go back to planning. Which I believe is like the first week in August, the 4th.
Yeah, I would just like to point out that there's not a lot of room here for an increase in stormwater runoff. The increase in impervious area is only 266 square feet, so it's not I don't think the conclusions would be any different, but it's very small, you know. This is a small project. This is a small change.
Through the chair.
Yes, Matt.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, that it's a small project. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the desire to try to meet your tenants' needs. However, as a conservation commission, it's our responsibility for each and every project, regardless of how big or small, to ensure that it complies with both the State Wetlands Protection Act and our local bylaw. So we're going to look for documentation that gives us enough justification to make a decision one way or the other.
Understood.
Thanks, Matt.
I did want to follow up. I know Mark Arnold had asked how we were not in compliance with, you know, the standards set forth in the bylaw, and I was kind of curious what the commission had to say regarding that.
Well, I think Matt just outlined that pretty clearly.
Through the chair.
Yes, Matt.
So my suggestion there would be, and I haven't had a chance to look at the new documentation that was submitted just a few days ago. If that documentation doesn't provide information to either document compliance with our bylaw and the state regulations, then I would include that. And if it for some reason falls short, I would provide a justification for why we as a commission should consider mitigation in lieu of compliance.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
And I just would go on to say that if there was a plan for invasives control and that I saw an effort was being actually made to live up to the plan, that would give me a warm spot in my heart, which might be useful.
That is something we can certainly discuss with the applicant.
Okay. So would you like to continue to our next meeting?
Yes, I do believe so.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Did
Hannah?
you guys want to make a decision on the stormwater review? Because it can either be done with the planning board or it would wait and delay even more if the planning, depending on what the planning board says. So you guys can do it independently or try to work with the planning board.
I think we should have a stormwater report. If we can piggyback with the planning board, then that obviously makes sense.
Yeah, I would just, you know, I think we, we'd be willing to do a stormwater report. But it doesn't look like the commission is going to approve this project. We're not very optimistic, so I'm just not sure where we're gonna go from here. I'm not sure we see a path forward from what we've heard today.
Well, I think we've given some feedback on what would make the application, obviously we had a little more time to look at what was shared the end of last week, provide some more information for us to make a better decision. But it's up to you. It's up to you on what you want to do from there.
Because our latest calculations show no increase in stormwater runoff. That's what we submitted to you last week with all the calculations and so on. And a review is not going to change that very much. We're only looking at 266 square feet of additional impervious area. So I'm just, not sure what the expectation is of this independent review. But if that's what you want, we'll consider it.
Well, can I say something? I think that the commission needs to review it. If I understand correctly, I think the commission still needs to review the material that was submitted last week. So could we continue to the next meeting and then pick up from there at that and discuss this project once it has been fully reviewed?
Yes, we can. We could certainly do that.
I guess just to that end, I know we heard some feedback regarding invasives, and then again, additional clarity, and I know you'll be reviewing things on your end. Is there anything, additional that, other commission members may want to see on, for that, that next hearing?
For me, I would echo Matt's comments, and I would agree with Ed on the invasive species piece. Does anyone have anything else? I think that would cover it.
I just want to get a clarification on the invasive species. Is that just within the wetlands area?
Yes, I believe that's where they are, right, Joe?
Through the chair, yeah. The common reed is within the wetland, in the part of the wetland closer to West Main Street. There's knotweed is on the eastern side of the wetland, in the area near the buildings, and then further back where the stormwater outlet is located, there's knotweed back in that area along the tree line also.
Thank you.
So I think the comment of limited to wetland is perhaps not exactly correct, because knotweed is not principally a wetland plant.
Correct. The knotweed is primarily outside the wetland. There may be some slightly within the wetland, primarily, in right along the edge of the wetland.
Okay. So, do we want to continue to the next hearing?
Yes, I
Uh,
think we're going to request a continuance.
Yeah, and I think that will also give you a chance to review the revised submission. And I believe we responded to all the comments we received. Um, and I think I think the latest submission has responses to the DEC comments as well, which the previous submission did not have. So I think it's a more complete package for you to look at.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds good. We'll take time and look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to continue this to the next hearing?
Who's that? I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
and Matt.
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up we have 47 Oakhurst Road, single family home.
Hi everyone, this is Andrew Tebow, wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting.
Hello.
Do I have permission to share my screen if you guys don't mind? I have a few visuals that I was going to bounce back and forth. One of them being the one that's up there now.
Yep, it's fine with me.
Great, thank you. I'll take that over. Can you guys see this okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So to start this off, this is the plan the commission saw last time. This has since been significantly expanded upon, but we're about a month in between hearings. At this point, we were last with you guys in June. So I was just going to summarize quickly what we had discussed at the last meeting and then sort of what we have incorporated since then. So we were last with you guys in the middle of June at the last meeting. And that was at that time when we had submitted our first round of comment responses and revised materials to Lucas's first peer review letter, to some comments from Mass DEP, and some of the preliminary discussions with the commission. So at that time, we had received some comments from Lucas about the clarification over the minor project exemption. So at that first meeting, we were discussing that it seems like a lot of the work that we were looking to include under existing conditions was actually the previous conditions of the site. And so we had provided clarification and quantification of the previous conditions of the site, the existing conditions now, and then what was proposed. We had discussed the stormwater testing, and we had presented our first iteration of a mitigation planting plan in support of that waiver request. So that's what we see here. At the time, we had proposed about 20 native shrubs and 10 or so plugs along the rear of Lake Maspinock. In discussing with the board, it was made clear that this was not going to be adequate for the work that we were submitting. And so what we had done is we had responded to Lucas's original letter. We had received a new comment, and we have since now significantly beefed up this plan and incorporated a bunch of revised materials. So you guys got a second round of materials from us on July 15th. At that point, that was responses to Lucas's second peer review letter and a revised planting plan that I'll pull up in a moment. Part of that response had notified the commission that revised site plans themselves would be coming, but the engineers were still working on them. We had a comment in that Lucas letter to clarify the FEMA flood zone as shown on the plans. So I'm just going to show that revised material first, as that's actually the most easy sort of response we have here. One of the comments was that the FEMA flood zone was shown as a polygon, and we needed some clarification on the exact elevation where that was to be shown. So the commission did just receive a revised plan on Friday, so I'm going to show that now. Quite interestingly, FEMA actually updated their maps on July 8th of this year, so only a couple weeks ago, and we now have a base flood elevation of 350.5 on the site. So we just had the engineers revise the plan, and we submitted this, and we attached a FEMA map as well. The bulk of the submittal that you guys received, and that was a week ago as of today, is now a significantly revised planting plan. So as I mentioned, we had originally proposed about 20 shrubs and 10 plugs along the rear of the lake. At this point now, we have proposed to plant essentially the entirety of the bank of the lake outside of what's in use here. So we can't put plantings in front of the steps that are down to the lake now or the access to the dock that's there, but we are proposing to replant the remainder of the bank of the lake. This is now comprised of 56 shrubs and 30 plugs. So we went from 30 proposed plantings to 91, trying to fit as many as we possibly can back there. It also incorporates native vegetation within some of the landscape beds that are there currently. So it's replacing some of that vegetation with native landscaping, as well as reestablishing the bank of the lake here. So that was a significant update. Also in the Lucas peer review letter, there were suggestions made that we include the scientific names of the vegetation that we were proposing. The original one that the commission received, I'll go back to it here, had common names and quantities, but the peer review letter had notified us that that can lead to confusion with the scientific names, different common names in different areas. And so we added those to the plans as well. And then we also added a note that plantings will be native species only, with no cultivars to be used, just to make sure that that's on there, that these will be truly native to sort of stick to what we are trying to accomplish here. And then we also added an additional straw wattle along the bank of the lake. That was another recommendation that came from the Lucas peer review letter. Just during installation, there will be a bit of minor soil movement, so we added that there. I do want to note that I did submit a revised version of this today. The only thing that changed is replacing World to Exceed with additional creeping phlox. Judy and I had touched base at this at the end of last week, and she had just given a comment that there was some information on the USDA database and GoBotany that one of the species we were proposing, World to Exceed, may not be native to our area. So we kept the quantity the same. We just added the additional creeping phlox here, as that is native. So this came to the commission today. That is the only difference here. The other things that came in with this new submittal is, at the last meeting, we were discussing that there was a waiver request submitted, but there was no signature on it. We had discussed that we think it was an error with the PDF, but just to make sure, we had the applicant sign a new version, date it more recently, and include that with the submittal, just so that's included in there as well. And then we also provided clarification. So at the last meeting, we were discussing, as I had mentioned, a bit of the minor project exemption that had been submitted in the past, but that was not officially approved, and what works was supposed to go in with that. So one of the main things that we've been discussing is the after the fact approval for the patio and the fire pit, what's there now. So we clarified that what was there before was a concrete patio. It's been expanded, and the goal of the waiver request is to use this significant planting plan that we have submitted here as sort of the mitigation for that. But we also provided clarification. When the commission had discussed the minor project exemption in the past, there was some discussion about reworking the stairs. That was one of the reasons why it was submitted in the first place. And there's a quote in the meeting minutes that had said that it is likely to be approvable as a minor project exemption as long as it does not extend into the lake and it was replaced in kind. During the peer review, Lucas had noted that there actually was a step extending from the steps here now over the lake. And so that was a discussion at the last meeting, if that was going to be included in the notice of intent for an additional after the fact approval, or if that was going to be removed. So we provided a clarifying comment that that step will be removed. The intent with this is not to encroach further onto the lake. The intent is to pull back and to replant the bank significantly beyond what it is now. So we clarified that that step will be removed as part of this planting plan here. The only other comment that we had from Judy that we had not been able to answer yet, because we were kind of going back and forth on Friday. I know the commission likes to get materials a week in advance, so we held off on submitting any new comment responses other than just that revised planting plan. But at the last meeting, we had a significant discussion over the slight portion of work that is within the 50 at present. There were some questions from the commission on the need for that, sort of the reasons why. So I just wanted to touch base on that verbally while I have you guys here, and then we will kick into questions after that. But I did want to clarify to the commission that I think we had discussed this sort of in our original hearing, but a lot of time has passed, that the goal with this design certainly was to minimize all the encroachments into the buffer zone to the least extent possible. I know the commission is aware that the property is fully developed. There's about an 800 square foot single family house there now. There's a patio and lawn space to the rear, and it's essentially maintained lawn all the way up to the bank of Lake Maspinock at present. And so when we're looking at this, we didn't feel that the lot itself at present is really protecting the interest of the 50-foot no build zone. The applicant also did take in quite a bit of efforts to minimize that to the extent that they could. And so when they went through the ZBA process, they actually we're able to get a 20-foot front yard setback here. Granted, it's usually 30. So they're able to push this building up to the 20-foot, and that's what the plans reflect, to try to get it as far from the bank of Lake Maspinock as possible. They also had to get the utility company to move a utility pole to accomplish this. So that's all been done. The goal was to move this up as far as possible. And the justification for that is that at present, there already was a structure within the edges of the zone, a patio and lawn space. So it's our opinion that although there is a slight encroachment into the 50, the addition of stormwater management now on both sides of the project, the robust planting plan that you guys see here, coupled with the efforts to move it up as far as possible, protect the interest of that waiver request. So I know that's a lot of information. I definitely want to leave time for questions. So I will end there. And if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Great, thank you. That is a lot of information. Clarification question on the existing hardscape to remain, that pink area. So for this notice of intent, that hardscape area was never permitted, right? So it's unpermitted. It's existing hardscape, but is there certain areas that were existing before they redid the patio, or is it the exact same limits?
There were areas that
What you're
were
showing. Yeah.
existing previously. So there was a concrete patio that was in the rear of the lot before it was reworked, and there was a shed there as well. And then the remainder of it was sort of lawn and landscaping. So there was portions of it that were hardscaped. It's been expanded upon. So the goal is to request after the fact approval under this notice of intent. We had provided in previous submittals, we had quantified what was there previously. We had some photos of the old patio and the lawn space. And then now we're quantifying what is to remain. Another thing that I do want to note, although not necessarily quantifiable, the previous patio that was on the property was concrete pavers. So it was considered fully impervious. When they redid the patio, because these clients, they're well versed in landscaping, hardscaping, things like that. They use travertine stone, which is the commission may know, but it's a sedimentary rock that sort of has much more pervious, moisture wicking qualities to it. So when this was installed, although it was not gone through the Conservation Commission, the goal was to have sort of infiltration and runoff in mind. So it was built in a positive way. And there was portions of it that were over a previous patio, but we are requesting the remainder of it to be included under this application with the waiver request that we submitted.
Yeah. Okay. And then I think, Anna, you did a little research for us, right, on other properties around the lake in the 50-foot buffer, and what we've I think the only cases where we've allowed new building in the 50-foot buffer is where it's within the footprint of an existing structure.
Correct. Yeah, I looked back through about the last 5 years just quickly, and it looks like the only ones that were allowed closer is if the limit of structure was already less than the 50. So the footprint may have expanded left to right, but not towards the lake.
Okay. So that's kind of that's what we look for, or what our decisions have been based on in the past in regards to that 50-foot buffer line for structures, buildings. And you're encroaching on that right now.
Thank you for that. Yeah, the other thing I do want to add to that is we did submit our comment letter a week ago. So we are anticipating another round of comment responses to come from Lucas. So we are taking any comments you guys have tonight that still need to be addressed by us. The goal is to sort of go through this iteration again, responding to all your comments and Lucas's. So that is helpful. We appreciate that.
Okay. Joe, I know you sent in a letter today, a comment letter. Do you have particular comments that you want to highlight for the commission that are still outstanding?
Yeah, just a couple of things we just want to touch on. One was discussed as far as removal of the step that extends into the lake. If that's being included as an after the fact activity for this notice of intent. I think a little additional detail on how that's going to be done should be included. I also note if you're looking at the photos, there are two columns, stone columns, adjacent to the steps that also extend somewhat beyond the previous wall, it appears. So the commission might want to take a look at that as far as whether that would have complied with their initial finding as far as not extending into the lake or over the lake. Also, that work, because it is below the mean high water line, may be subject to Chapter 91 permitting also. So I just wanted to bring that point up. Also, the revised FEMA flood elevation, which, as was noted, was a very recent revision. And it was formerly a zone A with no elevation provided, and it now has an elevation provided. And as shown on the site plan, that essentially brings the flood line, or bordering land subject to flooding, up to the base of the second stone retaining wall from the lake. The first one being the bank, the second one is upgrading of the bank. And you can see on the plan that the flood line essentially comes up to that wall. So that is, bordering land to the flooding now. The bylaw also has a 100-foot buffer zone and no building, no disturb setbacks for that also. So that's something to be considered. They also had a comment on one of the plants that was already mentioned as far as being likely not needed to this area, and that change was made, and that revision was done on the plan that you see before you. But those are my primary points in my last letter.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. All right. So you'll address Joe's comments.
Absolutely. Yeah, I find all those reasonable, and we, especially knowing that letter is done, then we fully intend to respond and incorporate those.
Okay. I do appreciate the additional plantings along the lakefront there.
Absolutely. I think that'll be great for it.
Does anyone else have thoughts, comments at this point?
Through the chair.
Yes, Heather.
Hi, Melissa. Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment that I appreciated being relatively new to the Conservation Commission, the history, at least over the last 5 years, of what was allowed in that 50-foot buffer zone. That's helping to make the decision for me.
Yep. Thanks, Heather. Anyone else?
Yeah, Melissa, I guess my suggestion would be I'm feeling a little underwhelmed by the justification for the work within the 50-foot buffer. Given this, yeah, I understand it was a developed site, but this is not, in my eyes, fit under the minor activities portion of our bylaw, because that work is within 50 feet of a resource area. So I stick with my comment from the last time we talked about this project, that I need to see some thorough justification for why a structure within our 50-foot no build zone should be allowed by the commission.
Thank you, Matt. Okay. So I think you have our feedback. Is that enough for tonight?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, marching orders are clear. I think, yeah, generally we wanted feedback on what's been submitted so far. The big thing for us was one of the main items at the last meeting was the mitigation plan. We wanted to make sure, we had a pretty long discussion about what the commission likes to see, especially on lakefront properties. We wanted to make sure that this was improvement over that, and that this kind of moves us in the right direction. And these remaining comments will help get us there. So I appreciate them.
Okay, great. Do you want to continue just to our next meeting, one meeting out?
Yeah, we'll go one meeting. If for any reason we can't make that, we'll check in with Judy, but I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay. Can I get a motion to continue this out to August 9th?
So move.
Second.
All right. All in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye.
Thank you all.
All right, just for clarification, it's August 5th.
Say that again. Oh,
I
August.
thought I'd heard you
Sorry,
say
I said the
August
9th. Thank
I
you.
just want to say it. Just clarification. It's the 5th.
All right,
Thank you.
We'll be here on the 5th then. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Anna. All right. Next up, we have Ravenwood LLC 0 Wood Street.
Good evening. My name is Mark Arnold with Goddard Consulting here on behalf of Ravenwood LLC. We are here for an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for the property off of Wood Street and also near Valley Wood Drive, Road, I should say. The last comments from Lucas that were issued several weeks ago, I think it was maybe 6 weeks ago, included comments from staff about evidences of vernal pool activity in the 2 isolated wetlands in the back of the property. We did have a wildlife biologist go out there and flag those vernal pools where we could on property. You'll see those on these plans as the Z and Y series. We've added the 125-foot vernal pool buffer zone to those areas as well. And also, as Judy requested, we've got 3 buffer zone lines around that wetland that has the isolated land subject to flooding. So you have 3 distinct buffers that you can compare in terms of where you are buffer zone per resource area. So the one comment that Joe did have that he initiated, I think it was yesterday, which we did respond to via email to the staff, was about the extension of the vernal pool Z series at Z1, which is near the center of your screen, right above that label isolated vegetated wetlands. That Z1, Z2 is basically the upgrading end of that vernal pool, and it goes to the south and to the west from there. And in addition to that, if there was a larger area, that you can see the 125-foot buffer zone is actually well inside existing resource areas, which is ILSF and IVW as well. So we believe that the plan does show the appropriate buffer zones and resource areas that the commission needs to review. If there's a question about that specific location, the commission could definitely put a note that, the vernal pool in that location may need to be further verified to confirm the 125-foot buffer zone on the property itself. But we do know it's an off property at that location. I can elaborate more, but I think at this point I'll open it up to questions or further comments from Joe.
Okay. Joe, I'm going to turn to you and see if that answered your questions or thoughts. I'm not sure if it did or not.
Yeah, initially I wasn't sure if the vernal pool boundary had been delineated, but didn't see anything in the narrative or on the plan pointing out the vernal pool boundary. So I just wanted to verify that what was shown was a delineated vernal pool boundary, and that's been confirmed. I did have a question on whether what direction the vernal pool boundary continued in prior to flag. I think it's Z1, because if it did go to the I believe it'll be the east or right on the plan, there could be additional vernal pool buffer zone on the subject property. I know looking at aerial photos, it looks like it goes to the south and southwest away from the property. But obviously I couldn't confirm that without a site inspection. And I also just want to point out that I have not reviewed the vernal pool boundary delineation. I did look at the other delineations. So I really can't comment on whether or not I feel that that is accurate at this point. But other than that, I think that was really my only remaining comment. Was the question on which direction the vernal pool went in from that first flag, and whether the commission wanted me to field verify that delineation.
Okay. So it looks like, based on this, that the vernal pool buffer does extend further than the IVW or the ILSF buffer zone, at least in one little area
Correct.
on the property. So, that makes me think we should verify. Have you go verify the vernal pool delineation, so that when something comes proposed to us, we can use that line comfortably. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that, but it's my initial reaction. The alternative would be saying that we're just not, that it wasn't confirmed, but then if something's presented to us later as a development plan and we have an unconfirmed line that we're trying to make decisions based on, we'll have to have Joe go back out there, I'm thinking, at that time. So does anyone else have any questions, thoughts, comments? No. All right, are you amenable to that?
I think we would like Joe to look at it at this point. If that's the only last comment, I hopefully we can close at the next meeting. It's been a long process to get to this point. This was flagged by a wildlife biologist who works with natural heritage and endangered species for vernal pools and stuff like that. So he's very well experienced with doing that. So I think Joe will find the delineation to be satisfactory in terms of that.
Okay. And then you can maybe check out that last flag, Joe. That was kind of in question.
Right. Take a look at
which
that
way it
also.
goes.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I think that makes sense. So if we can continue out, and hopefully that'll be the last continuance for this one. Can I get a motion to that effect?
Melissa, how
Mr.
far
Zanda.
out are you looking to continue this? Sounds like there's some field work to be done.
Yep.
Do we think that can happen between now and the 5th?
What do you think, Joe?
Yes.
Okay. Then I will make a motion to continue to August 5th.
And I'll second.
All right, all in favor. Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
and Matt.
Aye.
I'm also an aye.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Joe, for getting out there in the next 2 weeks. Appreciate
Sure.
it.
All right, next up, we have 109 Winter Street, amended notice of intent, driveway crossing for the single family home. Joe, do you want to show us what you have here?
Which Joe?
Mark went on, sorry.
Based on the Joe Orzel's memo and input from the commission at the first public hearing, we have made revisions to the plan. The goal with most of it was to more closely tie it, more robustly tie it to the order of conditions for the project that the commission issued in 2017 and has been updated several times. Excuse me, several times since. It's all related to, as I said a moment ago, to Joe's memo, and we've tried to flesh out a few of the things that normally come up with regard to the PIBs. They're the dark polygons you see around the basin and around the northeast side of the driveway. We've taken the suggestion regarding the limit of work, and we're proposing an orange snow fence in areas that don't have the erosion control barriers, don't have the wattles, and the silt fence will now get the orange snow fence. We have shifted to the westerly side of the culvert, the Winter Street side, the left side on this plan. There's an outfall inadvertently shown in the resource area on the original plans. We have shifted that location to get all the work, all the alterations outside of the resource area. A bunch of it was tied to fleshing out details on the box culvert, the wing walls, the replication. There was some confusion, some poor drafting on my part. So we fixed that to provide a single datum for folks as they construct the replication areas. And then I think maybe the one that is the most help is on sheet 6. We've kind of borrowed the idea from the first set of plans, and there is a comprehensive plan that shows all the different surfaces, what's going to be grass, what's going to be a wildflower mix, what's going to be paved, what's going to be rooftop, those sorts of things, just to try and to make it a little easier to appreciate just what's going to happen at the site. With regard to the other stuff, we updated the narrative, did some stream crossing standards to prove that we meet the general requirement for the crossing. Punched up some information regarding stream crossing activities, but we do have a handful of items still yet to go. We are in contact with Miles Connors at Parterre Ecological regarding the invasive species plan. He and I walked the site last Friday. He's got some ideas, and we're trying to firm up a relationship and get those plans, get that information off to the commission for review. We do have off-site wetlands. I think it's going to be very close to whether the driveway work at the intersection of the drive and Winter Street falls within the buffer zone. My quick calculations put us very close, but we have delineated that information. Scott Heim has hung some flags out there at Northeast Ecological. We just did not have time to get them on the plan for tonight's meeting. So that will be in the next go round, that stuff will be added. And then we have on our to-do list an update of all the resource area flags at the site. The next week or so, everything that is shown on these plans as resource areas will be reflagged so that we have a brand new fresh limit. So we've done quite a bit of work, and we have a few items left to go.
Okay. Thanks for the update. Joe or Zal, do you have any comments? That Joe
I can speak to a few things. Yeah, I have had a chance to review the most recent information. I have draft response done, but nothing submitted yet. I think Joe touched on a couple of the items I was going to note regarding the wetland across the street. I also agree that that buffer zone is probably going to be pretty close. When I pasted off, I thought the work, proposed work would probably be somewhat into that buffer zone. he also mentioned that they're working on the invasive species management. I would just suggest that that be peer reviewed once it is come up with submitted. Let's see. A couple of minor items. I know the WPA Form 3, it was stated in the comments that that form will be updated. I didn't see that in the revised material, so I think that's still forthcoming. I would acknowledge that the proposed open bottom culvert does meet the general stream crossing standards and actually exceeds the general standard for openness ratio. So that appears to fully meet the stream crossing standards. Also, the project narrative was updated and it described performance standards, how the work meets performance standards for BVW and for land under waterways, but did not touch on inland bank, and there will be some disturbance to inland bank, although temporary.
Oh, yeah.
I think they should probably just note that with a brief description of how the standards are met. And I think my last comment was that I know there was a note on sheet 2 of the project plans that stated to refer to the box culvert plan by Messcorp dated 5/8/17 for details on the proposed crossing in the stream bypass. I just wanted to verify that that was still the correct reference to have on that note with some of the new crossing detail plans that were submitted.
Okay.
And hopefully you'll be getting the review comments tomorrow.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. All right. So it sounds like, thank you for the update. Sounds like you got a little more homework, like you said. Joe Marco on, and we're gonna continue this out to the next hearing. Is that enough time, or do you want to go out to?
No, I think the next hearing, we've already got the locations of the offsite BVW. We just have to add those to the plan. So the only fly in the ointment is the invasive management plan. But I think we can pull that together in time.
Through the chair.
Okay. Yes, Judy.
One thing I noticed that the commission might want to ask for is the PIBs as proposed. Let me pull up the sheet with them. Follow the driveway here and then the front of the house, but since there's wetland in the back, might consider asking for additional PIBs around the rest of the structure. But up to you.
Yeah, no, that's a good call, I think. Joe Marco is that something you can look at?
Yeah, I don't see any issues with that. Obviously, boundary line is right there. So any further work also puts us in a difficult spot with the town, but we can certainly add a few along that backside to reinforce the point.
Okay.
Through the chair,
Yes, Ed.
just letting Joe know that open space has worked with Miles now for 3 or 4 years on a knotweed infestation. And they've taken it from roughly 20 by 30 feet to 2 plants in that period of time. So kudos.
You got the right guy. Good. All right, can I get a motion to continue this out to our next meeting on August 5th?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right, let's see where we left off. The Trails of Legacy Farms request for additional units to be released from the cease and desist. Looks like we do have Mr. Gately on the line. Did you want to present your request?
Hello there, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Yes, I'm just requesting the next 8 units at the trails. If you remember, we're down to our final phase of 48 units. And we have previously had the commission release 13 units. They are all under one phase of construction or another. All 13 of those units are, the foundations are in. Some of them have occupants now as of last month. So we are now ready to start our next group of units, which were listed in the site plan part of this submittal. And just like before, yes, that's the one there. So very quickly going down the right side there, those units, even numbers 4 through 22, that was the first release last July. And those are the ones that I think there's four people moved in and a few more coming very soon. Then going down a couple of units, our first request after that original request was for 3 units, 31, 32, and 34. Those are construction has started. So now I'm looking to really finish the rest of the right side going down with 2 more duplexes, 24, 26, and 28, 30. And then the last 4 units, 36 through 42. So those are the 8 units that I'm requesting. And as before, I would like the ability to be able to choose the locations. So they wouldn't necessarily be these exact locations here. They may at our discretion, and basically based on, sales, marketing, we would like the ability to make a change if we see the need.
Great.
Okay.
Yes. I think we haven't seen you in quite a while, which is a good sign. Everything's good stormwater wise on the site. So thank you for keeping up on that. Judy, you mentioned that they're up to date on all their SWIPs inspections. Yeah,
That's correct.
okay. So that being said, I think I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with approving this release. I don't know if anyone else on the commission has any thoughts or questions for Mr. Gately.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
I think it's a minor question, but the reference to possibly doing different units, could you just explain to me that a little bit more? I think what my interpretation is that you've picked out 8 units, but maybe someone wants to buy one that's in a different location from those units and you would like to do that. Is that a correct assumption?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Questions? No?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Go ahead, Judy.
Did I win? If then you decide to change the numbers, if you could just give us a heads up so we can keep track, that would be very helpful.
Yep.
And through the chair, just as a reminder, and Vin is also going to the town of Ashland for their next meeting. So your vote is also contingent upon Ashland releasing these same additional units from their cease and desist.
Okay. Sounds good. I guess we'll go ahead and do a vote on this. Can I get a motion to approve the request for these units to be released from the cease and desist?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
And Matt?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. All right.
Great, thank you.
Yep, thank you too.
Okay, yep, good night.
Lucas Environmental FY 2026 contract renewal. So this is something we just need to vote on. Vote to have Judy sign. Judy, you had mentioned, I believe that this is pretty much the same as last year's agreement and fee.
Yep, correct. The rates are staying the same this year, potentially changing next year.
Okay. So I think this looks good. We appreciate all your work, Joe. Want you to stick around with us, if you will.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve the contract and have Judy sign for us?
Melissa, real
Yep.
quick, before we make that motion, are
Yeah.
we looking at
The
what is
typo.
intended to be the current agreement?
It's a typo. We just noticed that.
Okay. Yeah,
We'll get
just
a-
figure it's worth correcting and initialing just so it's properly documented.
Yeah, we'll get a corrected version before I sign.
Perfect. I'll happily make that motion. Joe's done a great job.
And because Joe's paid me off, well, I'll second.
Shh.
All right, all in favor. Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. Do we have any public forum requests? No comment? No, good. And everybody saw, thank you, Judy, for sending out those meetings that are coming up on climate change and invasives. Appreciate the heads up on that. I'm gonna drop into the climate change or climate resilience, they're calling it climate resilience on Thursday.
Yeah, it is a drop-in event. So if folks can't make the whole thing, it's tables, so we can come for 5 minutes, come for longer, if you'd like.
Yeah. Cool.
And I will likely be out of town.
Alrighty. Then I guess the last thing that I had is just I think most people know, but I don't know. Janine resigned from the commission. Unfortunately, so we'll miss her. But that means we need to all look around or think about anyone that we might recommend or poke to submit an application for our open space on the board. So if you have any ideas, bring them up. And that would be
I will think
starting.
about it.
Yeah.
She's resigned as of before this meeting, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she's not resigning in the future. She's already resigned.
She's already resigned. Yeah. So it goes through the process. Judy was explaining to me the select board has to accept her resignation at their next meeting. before they can entertain new application. So yeah, so we'll have a empty spot for a couple months probably.
Now, they may challenge our quorums, but
Yeah, it will. So the sooner we can get somebody in, the better. Drum up some interest.
Yeah, and to that point, if everybody can take a look at the next couple meeting dates, and if there's days that you know already that there's conflicts, the sooner we know, we can try to work around those as well. Please and thank you.
and so since the select board has to accept the resignation for some reason, is it not published on the town's vacancies list as an open opportunity? Or do we have to wait for that before they put it on the vacancy list?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Yep. So how it's been explained to me, so the select board has to accept the resignation. So they will do that at their August meeting. It then has to be publicly posted for 14 days. And then after the 14 days, if there's applications, then they would vote on a new application. So I believe the earliest they could vote is their first meeting in September. So we're probably looking at our second meeting in September before we would have a new member if there is any applicants.
I just have one word. Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, the select board was only met July 1st like we did, and then there's only meeting once in August. So it's unfortunately the timing that it is. So.
Okay.
I'll take my next question off once.
I have a question.
Yes, Ed.
In the event of a quorumless meeting, what happens? I realize that we can't meet and you can't vote, etc. But are there other ramifications?
Public flogging.
Yeah,
So I mean that happened. So we just unfortunately we knew about it prior to the start of the meeting, and unfortunately just had to ask everybody to do a continuation, to the next public meeting, which just made a really long meeting. So
as long as
Anna,
people accept a continuation, what happens if someone doesn't?
I believe they can appeal to DEP.
We have to decide.
Yeah, and then DEP would likely either bump it back to the commission. I don't really want to investigate that, and I hope we don't have to come to that. I think most of the applicants, are pretty amenable. I mean, they don't want delays with having to either resubmit or start over if they don't agree to a continuation. So that's like I said, just things come up, and you guys all have working lives and personal lives, but if for sure, like, hey, I'm gonna, 3 of you are gonna miss the August 19th meeting, we'll cancel it now and reschedule, kind of thing. So the sooner we know, if possible, the easier it is.
Yeah, I mean, in general, it's in the applicant's best interest to just continue.
Yeah, I think fortunately we meet twice a month, so it's not like we're kicking them a whole month, which is helpful.
I think, Anna, well, we can only continue 3 times. I think that's been my understanding.
We've had applications that have continued for years, so I've never heard of that 3-time rule, but.
Yeah,
I don't know. 3 times. The length may be years,
but I don't know the number of days. Joe might know. I don't know, maybe not. But there's a certain number of days that the commission is required to act in upon receipt of a complete application. But again, applicants that want the process to wrap up sooner than later are always just going to continue. I'm not aware of any continuation limit, as long as it's amenable between the commission and the applicant to continue a hearing. Now, I've seen applicants say they don't want to continue, they want the commission to vote, or they want a planning board to vote. but it's rare that they would deny a continuance request from the commission because we don't have a quorum. And that, to me, would be a poor decision.
No further questions.
No further. All right, if we have no further questions, then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
And Matt?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Good
Be
night,
well,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Aye.